Welcome to Conspiracy. I'm Taylor,
And I'm Sammy.
and we're here to unpack and analyze the world's best conspiracy theories. So buckle up and let's jump in. Welcome back to the podcast. How you doing tonight, Sammy?
You ask that every time we podcast, but I'm doing great.
And I'm going to continue to ask that every time we podcast. Sammy took 1,000,001 minutes to get ready for this podcast tonight.
I needed my ice cream.
She had ice cream, and then she had to check her laptop, and then her microphone wouldn't attach to the table, and it's just been a very long process to get here.
But we made it.
Yeah. We're sitting in our new podcasting area, our new room.
Hopefully it's not echoey.
I don't think it sounds echoey.
It doesn't to me.
I think it sounds pretty decent. And I think if we continue to add things in here, it'll help with sound absorption. But no, hopefully by the time you guys are seeing the next few podcasts, we are video recording.
Yeah, we might finally have some video footage.
Yeah, other than just staring at like our banner. Hopefully.
Yeah, that would get old. But a lot of the times I just put it on and listen
Yeah.
when I listen to other people's podcasts.
There's a lot of times that I'm like, oh, I want to show something. So it'll be kind of nice to have a video and be able to pull that up. And hopefully that's coming your way.
That means though I'm going to have to actually look kind of presentable.
I know.
But I don't care. I'll just put on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I could care less what people think of me.
Right now I'm sitting here and hair's not looking great and clothes definitely not looking great.
Like I said, this is how I'm going to present myself no matter what. So
yeah, probably won't change too much, but I'll need to look somewhat presentable, and we just gotta navigate the whole camera situation with microphones.
Yeah, that'll be tough.
That's gonna be interesting.
It's all new.
It's very new. So, are you ready?
Mhm.
All right. So this week we're gonna explore a conspiracy that I myself did not hear a lot about until I literally went on TikTok in search of ideas for conspiracies, and this one came up. I think I've heard about it in movies before, but I think I always thought it was made up. So I'm curious to see if you knew about it. We are going to deep dive into the lost city of El Dorado,
I don't even know what that is.
also known as the lost city of gold.
Still don't know.
Okay, well then I'm very excited because when I found it myself, I was like, ooh, this is like completely new to me.
Is it above ground or is it below ground?
No one knows. It's the lost city.
So it's obviously never been found. So how do we know it's lost?
We'll get into it.
I'm confused.
You're already asking questions I can't answer at this given time. So, very excited that you haven't heard about it because I myself hadn't heard about it. I've seen it in. So, do you remember that movie that came out?
National Treasure?
No, it's like a treasure hunt. But do you remember a few years ago they made the live action Dora the Explorer?
Hola, soy Dora.
Okay, so
Can you say water in Spanish?
when I
It's
was,
agua.
would you shut up?
I thought that was a spot-on representation of Dora.
She very similar, but as I was doing my research for this podcast, apparently in that movie she was looking for this city, which I don't remember, but I do remember watching the movie.
In Dora?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then as I was doing my research, I got down a rabbit hole of watching parts of that movie. And do you
Is
remember?
it good?
Well,
I just remember when she's sitting at the table and he's like, can you say... And he goes, it's a phase. I swear it's a phase. But that's the only thing I know.
I remember, I haven't watched, it's been a couple of years, but I watched.
Is it on a streaming service?
I think it is right now.
Okay.
I want to say it's Amazon Prime, but I could be wrong. But I watched that scene where she's sitting at the kitchen table.
And she's looking off into the abyss and the dad's like, who are you even looking at?
Can you say carne asada? And the dad is kind of just looking at her, and the mom's like, the fuck is up with this kid? And she continues to look off into the distance, saying it over and over, and the dad turns to the camera and goes, it's gotta be a phase. Please be a phase. So it made me laugh. But anyways, today we're going to explore the lost city of El Dorado, also known as the lost city of gold. All right. So when we jump in, we're going to do some background information. I'll let you know that the background information is kind of like the bulk of it. There are 3 conspiracies that revolve around it, but there's a lot of background, and we're going to talk about some of the expeditions that have taken place.
Nobody's found anything.
No.
That makes it not even a thing.
It is a thing, and it was a lot of fun to research. And like I said, the background, there's a lot of background on it. We'll just jump in, and we'll see how it goes. This podcast might suck for you because you already seem like you're very confused.
I don't understand.
All right, so we're gonna jump in with a little bit of a history lesson this week.
I hate history.
Well, you're gonna love it tonight.
All right.
History is really boring, but I was interested in the topic, so it helped. I will say, and forgive me now as you're listening, I'm going to say a lot of these names wrong because it's a lot of Spanish. And
Hola,
my Spanish isn't great, so you might be helping me. I might just be butchering it.
Me llamo Sammy.
I'm gonna have to shoot you if we have that going all night.
Yeah.
So when I first started researching this topic, my biggest question was, what is El Dorado? Is it a place? Is it a group of people? Initially, I wasn't entirely sure.
Sounds like it's from Texas.
It kind of does, like El Paso, El Dorado.
Armadillo.
Oh my God. Sometimes I don't have words for you.
I don't know. It sounds like hot desert.
It kind of does.
Hidden in the dirt.
When I hear the word El Dorado, for some reason, I immediately thought of Johnny Depp.
I think of a buffalo. No, not a buffalo. A bucking bronco.
We're thinking
like a bull.
Two different things. I'm thinking Johnny Depp's playing someone named El Dorado, and you're over here thinking of a bucking bull.
El Dorado, yeah, like you know when they do like bull where you had to sit on it.
Oh yeah,
they
they're the hottest cowboys.
That is usually like when you say El Dorado, that's what I think of. That or I think of an armadillo.
Okay,
well, either of those two.
I can tell you that it's neither of those two. Yeah, neither of those two.
Okay.
So, like I said, I questioned it. I didn't know maybe it was like a group of people, the El Dorado people, or maybe it was a place. I know it's called the Lost City, so I kind of assumed city, but then as I started the diving deep into it, it kind of drove me down a few different paths. So according to the internet, El Dorado is a mythical, and they say mythical, city that is supposedly located somewhere in the Americas.
So fake.
I don't even want to present this to you anymore.
Okay, mythical city in the North Americas?
It says in the Americas.
Okay, so South America or North America?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say, when I was looking, a lot of the places we are looking tend to be like south, like in North America and Mexico.
Oh, okay.
And then into South America.
So more like Central America.
Yeah.
Okay. Where Dora's from?
There's a couple places in Mexico that have been explored, but heavily into the South America.
Okay.
The legend of the city of El Dorado stems from the Musica tribe, and I'm hoping I'm saying that right.
Music.
It looks like music, but with a at the end. It's M-U.
Oh, it's Musica.
Musica?
Yeah.
Musica tribe. It's an indigenous group of people that were located in South America, more specifically in what we now know as Colombia. It was called something else back then. But I don't remember what the name was, but now it's Colombia. The legend dates back to around the 16th century. When I say 16th century, what year range would you say that is? This was a history lesson for me.
The 1600s?
No. It's from 1501 to 1600.
Oh.
It's like before.
Okay. That don't make much sense to me.
No, because then I was sitting here because I was like, oh, like 1600s.
But that would mean we're in the 24th century. No.
21st.
And we're in the 20s.
No. The 20th century was from 1901 to 2000.
That's what I'm saying. We're in the 20s, like
First.
20, 24.
Yeah.
So it would be, then when we hit 2100, it'll be the
22nd century. It's throwing me off. We're in 21st century, which
okay.
I guess I knew that because people have said, like, we're living in the 21st century, but, like, it didn't click to me. Anyways, 16th century. During the 16th century, this was when the Spanish conquest took place. I hated this part in high school history. It was so boring. So I
don't remember much of high school history.
I remember this lesson because I just hated it.
I mean, I aced the class, but
of course
it was a learn or forget.
So then we have Hernan Cortez. He was a commander that took down the Aztec Empire. I do remember hearing about him because I remember having to learn about the Aztec and the Inca, and I wanted to shoot myself because it was so boring. But he took down the Aztec Empire, and then we have Francisco Pizarro, which was the commander that took down the Inca Empire. When both these empires were conquered and their riches were proved to be real, these commanders and their home countries then believed that the rumors of the Golden City was real, and that they had to find it.
So is it from the Inca and the Mayans?
It's not. From what I was able to find, when these conquerors, these commanders, these people came from Europe, and they came over here to kind of explore the Americas, and then they got here, and the Aztecs were here, and the Inca were here, and they were like, we want this land, and they conquered them. They started to hear rumors from the locals and the natives and the indigenous people here of this golden city. And they're like, well, it must have tons of riches. We want to see this. And they saw the riches that the Inca and the Aztec had. Because it wasn't as much as what they were saying that this other golden city had, but they had the riches of their own.
Okay, so they were probably like, well, they had to get them from somewhere.
Exactly. Okay. So they were seeing that, like, oh my God, you have such fine things.
Do you think the natives just made this crap up to try and get them to go away?
It wouldn't surprise me.
But be like, yeah, we got all these riches from 8 cities over. All you got to do is just travel over there. There's people over there. They'll tell you where it is. Go figure it out. And then they're like, they're gone.
It truly wouldn't surprise me. It was kind of a conspiracy that I would have maybe fallen down of like, was this supposed to kind of be like a decoy, like go away?
Okay.
But I'm also like, then when they conquered these people, they took people captive and were like, lead us to this city.
Okay.
So like
it would have backfired.
It didn't go well.
Okay.
Here's where the most of my stuff is going to come into play, and we're going to look at expeditions, and there are a lot of expeditions we're going to talk about.
Are people still looking for this today?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, this is still a heavily searched
I'm surprised I
thing.
haven't heard about it.
I was surprised I hadn't heard about it because it's like national treasure. It's still a very well hunted thing. It is, people call it one of the it's not one of the 7 wonders of the world, but for treasure hunters, it's one of the 7 wonders for them because they just can't believe they haven't found it.
What was that one that was hidden in like the Rockies by that one dude?
That,
you know who I'm talking about?
Forrest Fenn.
Yeah.
Forrest
Didn't somebody
Fenn.
find that one?
Someone did find it right before he died, and then people like got really
Do you think that was
pissed off.
set up? Like, do you think right at the end he's like, okay, I'm gonna die. Like, somebody needs to find this.
I would like to think that
Tip somebody off.
I would like to think that someone
Found it on their own.
Found it on their own, but he died within like a couple months after.
That, or maybe he was just holding out for somebody to find it, and then when they did, his body's like, all right.
Yeah. It was hard. He wrote a book with that riddle in it.
Did they ever come out and say like this is where it was?
I think so. I think they came out with picture evidence, and people were like, "They're lying. This was set up."
I'm
And
gonna have to look that up because I want to see what it looked like. It had to have been hidden really well because there's millions of people that looked for it.
yeah, and I remember like there were always rumors of like it was found, and like he's lying to all of us. And Forrest himself would go out there and be like, "No, it's still there," because there would always be reports of someone found it. Like someone would step out and be like, "I found the treasure," and then Forrest would go out to wherever the location was.
Well, my thing is like did he do it in the middle of the night? Because I'd be afraid somebody would follow me.
I know he went alone. I know his son was the only other person that knew where it was.
And he's like an older dude to be able to go hike these Rockies because I know he had said I think it was off the trail.
It was off the trail, not easily hidden. When he did interviews on TV, he goes, "This isn't something you're going to fall upon." He goes, "If you are not specifically going to this location to look for it," he goes, "you are never going to find it."
Okay.
So, like, it wasn't an easy thing. But yeah,
I had to like dig it up.
Yeah. I don't think you had to dig it up. I think it was covered, but I don't think it was like buried. If that makes sense. Like I think maybe like like under a log kind of thing.
Okay. Or
not like you're digging
rocks.
in the dirt.
Okay.
But yeah, I was really disappointed when that was found.
How big was it?
It was like a foot by like 10 inches. It was a box. It wasn't
so
very
it wasn't
big.
very big.
No, it was like a shoebox. A little bigger than a shoebox. But it was filled with tons of ancient things that were worth a shit ton of money. I mean, it was estimated over $1 million worth of things.
Okay.
So pretty cool.
Okay, back to the topic.
Now we're going to move on to the expeditions that took place in order to try and find this lost city of gold. Something you're going to notice as I start going through all of these is that a lot of the time frames overlap. So there were numerous groups searching at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Different locations, but you'll kind of notice like the date ranges and the years that I give you that a lot of people were searching around the same time. The first one that was kind of like the first big expedition to try to find this was between the years 1531 to 1538. And I want to say his name is Niklaus Friedman.
Is it Nicholas?
No.
Okay.
Maybe. Just spelled weird.
Okay.
Normally,
say the way you said it made it sound like it might be Nicholas.
It's just not spelled with a CH like it normally is. There's a K.
Could also very well be Nicholas. But
We're
whatever.
going to call him
Niklaus?
I watched the Vampire Diaries. Niklaus is in there. We'll go with Nicholas. That sounds better. Nicholas Friedman and George von Speyer explored the Venezuelan lowlands, the Colombian plateaus, the Oricon Basin, the Llanos Orientals, and Rio de Peru. And at the end, I'm going to show you a map of all these places. They, By
the way, if anybody knows how to pronounce those, we're really sorry we just butchered those.
I know Colombian plateaus, I said right, and Venezuelan lowlands. The other ones, it's a shot in the dark here. They spent, They spent 7 years exploring all of those places. Most of the times when these people would come over from Europe, they would bring teams of hundreds of men.
Oh, so there was a lot
Hundreds.
of people.
Yeah, there was rarely.
Did they have any idea of like what they were looking for, like gold coins or like physical
everything gold.
full-ass sculptures?
Their huts were made of gold. Everything. And
so
when
the entire city would be gold.
The entire city was gold.
Okay.
Everything.
Who told them this? Those people that lived there?
When they were conquering and when people were coming over to explore, the indigenous people were like, there is this huge city of gold. And it was a rumor, and the rumor spread like wildfire. These people took it back to Europe, started spreading it to everyone, and then of course everyone in Europe was like, well, we need to go find this. Like, it just became a really big popular thing.
Okay.
So they were sending hundreds of men. Like I was saying though, I think the lowest amount of men I saw go over on a trip was 200. Like, they took hundreds of people every time they went.
Well, people were probably going to die, especially at that point in time.
Yeah.
So you better make sure you got a pretty big, substantial amount of people.
And the one thing I also found when I was going through all of this and looking at all the different expeditions that they had was most people, they ended up having to quit, or they all died, or they got diseases, there was sickness. A lot of them would be killed in battle because they'd come across indigenous people that are like, get the hell off our land.
Yeah, want to protect it.
Yeah, so this was kind of the first big expedition that broke ground of, we are going to try to find this. And they covered a vast amount of like countries.
Okay.
Many of the other expeditions, it was like, we maybe got to one country, maybe a second. But that one really covered a huge amount, but they were also there for 7 years.
Oh my God.
7 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, a very long time. I mean, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different locations.
Okay.
In 7 years, I guess that's kind of doable, but you also have to remember, like, they didn't have cars.
I know.
They did it on horseback or by foot.
And, like, it's a huge area that they're trying to cover.
It
but
wasn't
I feel
little.
like a city of gold would be reflected in the sunlight, so you might
would
be able to
think.
see it shining like a diamond.
You would definitely think. So then we're going to move on to the expedition number 2. And I will let you know that a lot of this was found from like different news outlets. I did use some Wikipedia sources just to make sure I had all the dates in order. So if you want to look up yourself, that's where you can find it.
My mind's going off on a tangent.
Yeah.
When did the dinosaurs get extinct?
Really? That's what we're thinking about right now?
Well, because I'm like, okay, this city, if it's made of gold, it's going to be pretty sparkly. So could somebody have, like, hitched a ride on a pterodactyl?
65 million years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. Long time.
Hitched a ride on a pterodactyl.
You know,
Sammy, I can't
Well,
even.
I just read Fourth Wing, and, like, there's there's dragons in that. So, like, you hitch a ride on a dragon or hitch a ride on a dinosaur, the flying ones, and you'd be able to see the sparkling city and be like, it's over here. But
yeah, 65 million years ago.
Never mind, it's not possible.
When we look at expedition number 2, this one started in 1541, so there was no overlap with that first expedition. His name was Hutten, Hutten. He continued to explore. He took a party of 150 men, so I take it back. That's the lowest party I have. They began on the coast of Venezuela. They spent many years wandering the lands in Venezuela and kind of staying on that coastline. For those of you that don't know, and I'm going to give you a map here, Sam. Venezuela is this side over here. It's the dark blue on the coastline. So
that's where Chile is.
They spent many, many years kind of wandering. I'm a fucking dumbass.
What?
They didn't go to Chile. Venezuela's up here.
Okay, I was going to say, that's Chile.
They're in the purple.
The dark blue.
I'm so fucking dumb.
Okay.
Just ignore me. They're up in the purple.
Oh, I just conked my tooth. It's my microphone.
We are a shit show tonight. You're over here conking your teeth with your goddamn mic. Okay. So they're in the purple right now. Venezuela is like on the top of South America.
Okay.
That is where they started, but they were on the coastline up there. They spent many years wandering these lands, looking for this lost city. During the time of exploring, they struggled with harassment from the native people. There was a lot of battle. There was a lot of fighting. It was, get out of here. You're not welcome.
Yeah, because they're hunting for their treasured land.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, the natives truly believed that this was real. It very well could be, and we just haven't found it.
I find that very hard to believe.
Some of the conspiracies, Sammy, are really convincing.
Okay.
Like
if there's a city of gold, someone's going to have found it.
Yeah, but there's so many other things that have not been found in this world.
Like what?
We'll get into things later.
There's things that haven't been found.
Oh, yeah. There are numerous, when I was doing research, there are numerous cities that have not been found, but there's documented proof that they've existed. So.
Maybe they've been wiped off the face of the earth.
I don't know. So now I fucking lost where I am again.
Sorry.
Shh. Okay, so the native people, did not want them here. There was fighting, there was battling. They wanted them gone. As years passed, many lives were lost, obviously, because they were killing them off.
Yeah.
Eventually, he was down to a team of about 40 men. So he lost 90 men.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
He then decided to cross the Rio Bermejo into Los Llanos. I'm saying these wrong.
Los Llanos?
Los Llanos. I will say that I do know that this right now, we are in Brazil. So we're in that really big orange one.
Piece. Okay, I know where Brazil is, so thank you.
We're down there. He's crossed, and from my understanding, it was a body of water.
Okay.
He's crossed this into a new location. Upon crossing, battle broke out, leaving his men severely wounded.
What, he's down to what, 10?
It doesn't give a
So
number.
He's only got 40.
But he lost quite a bit of men, and then a lot of them that did survive were very badly wounded.
Take your horse and run, man. I'd be like, save yourself.
In 1546, his remaining men he took back to the coast of Venezuela. He's like, we can't do this.
That's a lot of ground to cover.
A shit ton of ground to cover.
Because Brazil's a very, very large country.
And he's doing it on horseback. And like when you look at South America, if you look at it on a topical map, where it shows
Topographical.
when you look at that, I mean, South America is like all freaking mountains and forests, and it's not an easy flat land. However, when Houghton, whatever his name is, when he gets back to the coastline, Spanish authorities ended up killing him.
Sad face.
Yeah, because they're like, you caused issues, you came here, we don't want you here.
Now you die.
So he came back.
Pow!
It doesn't say anything about his men being killed. I believe his remaining men got to leave, but he was
Yeah, but were they
executed.
kept as hostages or like slaves?
I don't think so. It
Well,
didn't.
I mean,
It
that's
didn't.
at least nice. Of
It
them.
didn't have a lot of information on it. It just said that he was executed by Spanish authorities.
Okay.
We're gonna move into Expedition 3. This one does have some overlap. It was in 1535. I am talking a lot with my hands tonight.
Hey, that's okay.
I'm in a new location.
I don't mind.
Okay, well, when we start filming, I'm going to have to, like, strap my hand to my side. So we're in 1535. I don't need you directing, Sammy. We're in 1535,
Looks like
and
you're
now...
bringing a plane to land.
Oh, my God. I know. I'm going to say this for the 4th time.
You're the one that keeps breaking.
Okay. We are in 1535 now, and we now have a man named Sebastian de Benazicar.
Good sounding out.
We're just going to call him Sebastian.
You're probably pronouncing those syllables wrong because Spanish letters make different noises.
Well, I can say Sebastian. I know that one. He was a
Latino? Is that what you were going to say?
No, he's a lieutenant. He was the lieutenant of Francisco Pizarro, the one that ended up conquering the Aztec.
Francisco.
The Aztec Empire. Sebastian failed on his own when he went over here.
Did he bring a group of men?
He did.
Okay.
Not a big one. He brought some, and then he ended up getting here. He failed on his own, so that's when he ended up joining Friedman on his quest. We just talked about Friedman. So he kind of merged his men with his men.
Is Friedman the one that got killed when he came back to Argentina?
No, Friedman was the very first expedition.
Okay.
So that they didn't get killed. Those were the ones that explored like 5 countries.
Okay, just up in that top area.
Yep.
Okay.
So they explored that. He ended up joining them like about halfway through their expedition.
All right.
So he came in to help them find this lost city of gold. Eventually, he just gave up entirely and he went back to Spain. He was like, I tap out. This is too much.
Well, after a while, you got to run out of money and
I think it was the money and then
motivation.
losing men and like sickness, disease, and then the indigenous people were like, we're trying to fucking kill you. And I think he just lost the will to want to do this. However, it was around this time that there was some suspicion when he returned to Spain, and that was because they think that the city of gold was found and that they were threatened that if they came back and said anything about it, that they would be killed. Like, they would come and kill them.
So they think Sebastian and his dudes found it?
I don't know if this is where it's messy. I don't know if they think Sebastian found it or Sebastian heard that people found it and then they relayed the message to him going, get the hell out of here. If you acknowledge that the city is real, they are going to come for you and kill you.
All right.
Kind of like I said, Expedition 3.
This is the indigenous people they're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
That like, and the people that live within the Golden City. Like, they will kill you.
Okay.
They
They probably want to keep it under wraps so
Yeah.
that it even exists.
And that they hit the jackpot and found all this gold. They don't want you coming to try to take it.
All right.
And so,
Because that's what they would have done.
and I would assume that they probably had huge security measures of like, you're coming in here, there's booby traps. I would assume there's a lot of security measures.
Booby traps.
I knew the second I said booby traps, you were going to laugh. Because you're a child.
Just sounded funny. Remind me of Goonies.
Good Lord.
The booby traps.
We're now going to move into Expedition number 4. This one's a little bit longer with some more information. We're now in the year 1536. Again, there's some overlap. We are now dealing with Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada.
You did really good up until that last part.
Thank you. I can say the first 2 really good, and then
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say it sounded pretty good. I thought it sounded Spanish.
thank you. He was a Spanish conquistador. I love that word. It just...
Conquistador.
Sure, that. Very intense the way you say it. He brought a team of 800 men.
Wow. He must have had some funds. Did they come from Europe?
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
all
there-
these.
That must want to be one big ship, or they brought multiple.
Most of them, when it was this big, they brought multiple ships over. And then they, like, to see the pictures of them on the coastline, It's terrifying.
I just can't even imagine because it's not like they had motors on their boats at this time.
I
So
know.
you're relying on sails, and one, the ocean is scary.
Fucking terrifying. And then like how I still don't get like back then I know like compasses are a thing and you read the stars at
But I'd be
night.
out in the middle, and I'd be like, okay, which direction do we go?
Yeah. Like you just pray that your sails get blown to the right direction.
Well, that's when you turn the sails or something. But
But still, back
sailboats
then,
terrify the crap out of me.
I know. Your fear of sailboats
It's one of my
just
fears.
astounds me. But
You're literally at the mercy of the wind.
100%. 100%.
And have you seen those suckers tip over? Absolutely no.
I have not.
Oh,
Sailboats tip over
I don't know.
because of the wind?
It's part of my fear. I don't know.
Oh,
I think I just picture
Is
them
this
tipping
just
over. I don't
irrational?
know. But I feel like if you put that sail the wrong way and you aren't working with the wind, you're trying to work against it, it's just going to backfire and you're going to die out there. It's just horrible.
Yeah, that was always one thing I never understood. Like, I love Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but like I never understood like how the fuck do you get where you want to be?
Yeah.
Like, how do you just get that lucky?
That's why I just stay out of the ocean in a big sailboat.
I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on a cruise liner ship. I don't. Keep me away from it.
Well, they're really bad for the earth. So
No, they're bad for the earth, and I also don't want to reenact Titanic. Zero desire.
the likelihood of you reenacting Titanic are very slim. But
Not gonna risk it. I'm not chancing anything
well,
here.
plus you look at these cruise liners; they're like quadruple the size of Titanic.
Well,
When they put them next to each other,
is
I'm
terrifying.
like, oh my god!
It is so terrifying.
It's like a city on the water.
It is, and no desire to do it. And then like the North Sea TikTok.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yo ho!
Yeah,
And,
absolutely no.
Nope. Pass. Anyways, where was it? He brought a team of 800 men on his mission to find the lost city. He began in Peru. Can you find Peru on your map?
Esa aquí.
What?
It's here.
Okay. So he started in Peru and he moved into the Andes Mountains to find the homeland of the Muisca people. They did find the Muisca people, and this was the tribe that supposedly was from the lost city of gold. They found like their southern settlements in the Andes Mountains.
I know where the Andes Mountains are.
Very good. It's down the coastline there. It kind of like spans the entire South America.
It's by Chile.
So they found them in the lower southern settlements, and the people that were in the Muisca tribe quickly lost any treasures that they did have in what they would call like, I call it like their decoy homes, like their decoy cities,
Okay.
because these cities weren't built of gold, but supposedly they had the city of gold. Like they knew
So
where
they
it was.
built these to distract.
I think it was like a distraction, but I also think maybe if you weren't worthy enough, you didn't get to live in the actual city of gold.
Okay.
So I think like the higher up, it's like the millionaires versus the middle class versus the poor.
Okay.
I think for this tribe, if you couldn't afford City of Gold or you weren't worthy, you lived in these distraction houses.
Okay.
Or distraction cities, if you want to call them that. So these lower level people quickly lost the treasures that they did possess because the conquistadors and the people came over and took them. Finding some of these smaller riches led Gonzalo to believe that he was on the right trail. Like he's like, I'm doing something right because I have found the Muisca people, which is supposedly the tribe of the lost city.
Yeah.
And that they're showing some signs of riches. They weren't showing the signs that like of the actual city, but they
like,
had
hey,
like
this is where it's built.
there was gold and like there were some signs that point to okay.
They weren't like a dirt poor
yeah.
indigenous people that he had seen up to this point.
Exactly. There were things that kind of pointed to, maybe they can get me there. It was said that this lost city was kind of like the tomb. It wasn't a tomb. It was a city that people lived in, but the way he described it, it was a tomb that held all the Golden City things. It's kind of confusing the way he described it. Supposedly when you went in, it stored never-ending supply of gold and jewels. Like you went in and you could just, for all you could see, it was just gold. Everywhere there was gold. Gonzalo postponed his return to Santa Martin and continued his expedition. It ended up going on for like a couple more years, so he kept going. Okay, so something important that I do want to note is, in my opinion, Gonzalo made the most progress out of all the expeditions.
Okay.
Gonzalo found what they called the Sacred Lake. And when I get into the theories, we're going to talk more about it, so I don't want to get too much into it now. But he was the only he was the first conquistador to find the Sacred Lake. It was found in the eastern range of the Andes Mountains. The lake is talked about a lot in the theories, so we'll keep that in mind later on as we keep going.
What made it sacred?
I don't think there was anything specific
Like
that
if you bathe in it, is it like gonna bring you good luck or something?
not that. I truly think that the Muisca people just were like, this is going to be our sacred lake. They used it for like religious ceremonies.
Okay.
I think they just decided this was going to be our sacred lake, and then it drove conquistadors there because of what they were doing there. So honestly, I think they just picked a body of water and they're like, this is it.
Okay.
I don't think there was a reason as to
All
why
right, I
they
didn't know if
picked
they were
it.
like sinking gold in it and being like, now it's sacred because it's holding our good riches.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need you to stop talking now.
Okay. I'm on to
So,
something.
You're definitely onto something. There were stories of this lake and the religious festivities that took place. Gonzalo attempted to drain this lake because he was like, well, if all these sacred religious activities are going on here, there's got to be something in here.
Did you look how big is this lake?
It's
Like, is it a pond?
no, it's bigger than that. It kind of reminds me.
Can you like see across it?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Like when we go to
Because if
Wapaka,
you go to like Lake Winnebago, you can see across it. But if you go to Lake Michigan, it almost looks like an ocean.
I wouldn't say it's as big as like Lake Winnebago. It's definitely smaller than that. I would say it's like a ginormous pond. Like you could definitely you could walk around the whole thing in probably like an hour.
Okay.
Like it's big, but like it's like small.
Small, big.
It's a small, big lake. Where was I? So Gonzalo attempted to drain this lake thinking that, okay, there's got to be some stuff here if they used this. The thing is, that was kind of weird to me is this wasn't the Golden City. I don't know if the Musica people were like, this is our sacred lake and here you go. Because like it wasn't the Golden City. So I'm like, why the fuck would you be interested in this lake? So someone had to have told him.
Well, they might have thought that this would be like the pathway to the Golden City.
Yeah, this was the part where I got confused. So I'm assuming that these people were like, this is important to us. We use it for like religious reasons, which led him to go, I need to be here. Because
And my thing's like, how do you, because we're in what, the 16th century?
no, we're still, yes, 16th century.
How are you draining a lake? What are you grabbing a bucket and just scooping stuff out?
I really hate you sometimes.
Okay.
So we're going to get into that right now. So he spent, I just want to make sure I have it right.
If you tell me he took buckets.
He had his men, his 800 men, I don't know if they all survived, we'll just say 800 men, working for 3 months straight using the bucket method.
No way.
He would have his men line up
I am psychic.
and they would like pass buckets down a line
No way.
to dump the water like over, because like,
You have to dump it far enough away, otherwise it's just gonna go back into the groundwater and seep back into the pond.
yeah, and I will put a picture in the YouTube video so you guys can all see this. The lake is like, and I say it later on in this, it's a crater lake. So it literally looks like an asteroid landed right here on Earth. It kind of dug out a part in the mountain because then it goes up and curls over.
Okay, so they just went over the curl.
Yeah, so they had the men that would like go up to the tree line and dump the water over the the mountain peak kind of.
God, this must have taken forever.
They
Did
were
they
there.
even make a dent?
They were there for 3 months and they only lowered the water by 3 meters, which is 9.8
I was
feet.
gonna say 3 meters is a lot though.
In 3 months? You were here for 3 months.
Dude, if we went to Lake Winnebago and scooped buckets of water out, I wouldn't even move it an inch. So I think 9 feet is pretty good.
I mean, sure.
9 feet.
The bucket. Can you imagine?
No, I
Can
can't.
you imagine waking up every day for 3 months and like
Alright,
get
time
your
to go
bucket?
Scoop more water. No, I wouldn't.
So yeah, 800
I think I
men.
would have been better off dead.
800 men bailing waters with buckets for 3 months.
No me gusta.
So, like I said, he had done this going, I'm going to find all this gold at the bottom of the lake. Like this is leading me on the right path. He did find some gold. He never made it to the bottom of the lake. I do want to make that clear.
Yeah, you only made it 9 feet.
We only made it 9 feet down.
3 meters.
But as he was doing this, they found some gold like on the banks of the water. It was,
Ooh.
yeah. So he found some stuff, but it only
But then did that like stir his desire to be like,
That's
it's at
the
the
thing.
bottom?
That's the thing is I think it just kept driving him mad of like, it's real. The lost city of gold is real. 'Cause
How
I'm finding
deep
gold.
was it?
I don't have a number. I should have looked that up. I really should have.
Because I'm like, how could he swim to the bottom?
No, I don't think I think it was deep enough that you are not getting down there in a breath. Like
Okay.
it would have been a really hard struggle and there's not scuba gear. Like
Correct.
you would have had to drain the lake, or now with the technology we have, we could scuba to the bottom of it.
Were the indigenous people pissed that he was trying to drain their lake?
I don't think the indigenous people came anywhere near him when he was doing this. I think at that point they're like, you know what? You're distracted. We just won't use this lake for a while. I kind of got the vibe that they just kind of backed off. There wasn't a whole lot of information on that.
It? Okay.
But the little amount of gold that he did find was valued during his time at 3,000 to 4,000 pesos. Today that comes out to about 100 grand. So like,
All right, that's quite a decent amount of money.
yeah, he found, and it didn't say like, oh, it was artifacts or if it was chunks of gold. It didn't say the form.
My thing though, He had 800 men working for him
I know.
to only make 100 grand
Mm-hmm.
with 800 people.
Yeah.
That's a little amount for each.
And I'm kind of getting the vibe that back then these huge conquistadors probably didn't pay their men. It was like,
oh, correct.
you're
It was
just
like slave labor in a way.
like you're just fucking lucky to be alive. So that's his expedition. We're now going to move on to expedition number 5. So now we're in 1540, which is Gonzalo's younger brother, Francisco. He was the one that toppled the Inca Empire. So he had just like achievements on his own. Okay, he took his men, and it doesn't say how many men he had brought with him, but then he also took 3,000 to 4,000 natives and like took them hostage.
4,000?
Yeah.
Gosh.
He took a shit ton of the natives that he conquered during the Inca Empire fall.
Did they speak the same language?
I would strongly doubt it. Because you're coming from Europe, which
How do you direct them? I'd be like, okay, now go over here and do this. They'd be like, huh?
they probably just whipped them and pointed. Like,
Okay. I
like-
guess follow by example, I guess.
yeah, I would assume. Or they probably had some men that could speak their language and were like, fucking translate. Like, you don't have a choice. So he took these people and they departed to, it's Quito, Quito is how I'm going to say it, to explore these lands. And then he moved more eastward into like the heart of the continent. The reason for this exploration is because the natives spoke of the riches in the valleys. So they were kind of taking a whole new pivot.
All right.
They're
They're like,
like-
all right, we're going to start exploring some of these valleys and seeing if it's in there.
Exactly. They're like, okay, we've explored these mountains. We've explored these coastlines. We're going to go into the heart of these valleys because
We
these
still have yet to find anything.
these tribal people are saying this is where the riches are. So now he's in a new place. He's going into Rio Coco, Rio Napo, which is all in Brazil. I learned that all these
Is
Rio,
it by Rio?
it's not by Rio de Janeiro, but a lot of the places in Brazil have Rio in the front of it.
I wonder what Rio means.
I don't know. I just know it as the blue bird from the Disney movie. Rio. I think Johnny Depp played that bird.
Was he blue?
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
The movie was literally called Rio.
I watched it, I think, once in my life. I don't remember.
I don't even think I've seen it once.
So eventually, Francisco had to give up due to losing a vast majority of his men due to hunger, disease, and the periodic attack that would take place in these lands. Because new tribes that they're now finding as they go in are like, get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
So, not the men that he conquered, but new tribes that he was encountering.
Great. But I suppose if he's starting to move into new areas, you're going to face new tribes.
Yeah, and scary ones by the sounds of it. It sounds like the deeper you got into some of these places, the bigger and badder they got.
Well, you know that there's apparently one tribe that like lives on their island all by themselves.
Yes.
And like if you go near it, they will literally kill you.
They are protected.
Where is that?
I want
Is it over by like Madagascar?
I think it's on the coastline, like China into Australia, like over there.
Okay. Well, Madagascar is off Africa.
I
just
don't
so
think
you
it's
know.
over there. I think it's coastline of China, but I could be wrong.
It looks terrifying.
But I know that the country it's next to has now it's deemed safe land. You cannot go to it. They have no contact with the outer world.
and they don't speak any language but
No.
their native language, so it's
Mhm.
like your communication is gonna do nothing.
And the pictures, because like they will shoot
I
at
think that
planes.
there was. Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
think there was a like a journalist
I believe there was a journalist that, actually
was
got
gonna
there.
go and like talk to them, and I think they killed him.
They did. From my understanding, I believe there was a male journalist, and
Like they will be with spear sticks,
Yeah.
standing on the shoreline, like, "Ooh, I'm gonna throw this at you."
the pictures are terrifying. But
they don't mess around.
I
man.
believe the journalist was granted permission to attempt, and like the country that it's protected by, let's say it's protected by China. China's like, you can go, but they're gonna probably kill you. He went anyways,
Absolutely not.
and I believe he did die. Now I'm gonna have to look that up because I
Yeah,
don't remember the
it's
name.
Scary looking.
But the pictures of it are really freaking terrifying, and I'm like, no, pass. That's just I don't even need to fly over that place.
Like, I'll just be happy to know it exists. I don't need to go and experience it because I
Yeah.
will be dead.
That's just a pass. But like, I think it was kind of situations like that as they were going through these
Yeah.
valleys. They were encountering new tribes with language they didn't speak,
know.
and they were like, "We don't want you here. Like, get out."
Like, this is our land. At that point, territory was really important.
And I think down there today it still is. Like, there are still tribes, and I'll get into it later with the theories. There are still tribes down there that like they will hang you out and kill you. And
Well, my thing's like up in the Americas, like if you are a Indian tribe,
yeah,
you have protected lands.
yep, down there,
Like
they have to fight
we
to protect
can't
them.
steal it.
Mm-hmm.
They probably still have to fight for everything.
And that's the vibe I get. I don't think the governments down there really like protect their land. It's kind of like, you know what, if you can protect it yourself, you can have it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I get. He, like I said, he eventually had to give up because he was losing the vast majority of his men. He did travel downstream, and it sounds like he went through multiple different river systems. He eventually made it out to the Atlantic Ocean. So like
okay.
he traveled great
He made it a
distance by
ways.
water. Although he never found the lost city of gold or the lost city of El Dorado, he was credited for the discovery of the Amazon River. So,
Oh,
like,
okay.
this man, he toppled the Inca Empire, he discovered the Amazon River, like, he had achievements in his own.
Yeah. And the Amazon River's huge, man. How it hadn't been discovered up to that point.
That's what kind of shocked me because the year was
Because water is
1540.
really important
Yeah.
in people's lives.
And granted, like, the indigenous people knew of the Amazon River, but I think it was at this point that, like, the Europeans found it, my understanding,
Okay.
and then, like, we named it, and it was a thing. I would
It's kind
assume
of
that.
like how Columbus discovered America.
Yeah. I think, like, there were indigenous Indian people, but
They weren't credited because they were already here.
yeah, because how do you credit 100 people? So they credited this man.
'Kay.
We now move on to Expedition 6, and I'll let you know we have 7 total, and then we kind of go into, like, a list of other expeditions, but we don't go into crazy detail.
Okay.
So number 6, it's a short one. It's 1560, so now we've kind of made a time jump. We're a little bit later because a lot of the other ones took place in, like, the 30s. We're in 1560. A new conquistador, Pedro de Urso and Lopa de Anguru, you know what? Someone else can look these up on the internet. Say 'em
Spanish
right.
names are hard.
They are hard. And they have like 3 names in one, and then it's just their first name. So they travel down the Maron and the Amazon River in search of the lost city. So instead of like taking the land route like all these other conquistadors, they're like, you know what? Let's do waterways.
Smart.
So it was kind of like
And you're going to go a lot faster.
yeah, it was kind of like a new expedition. So like we're trying something new again. However, this expedition was messy. There was overthrowing of conquistadors. So, and I don't know why I didn't jot it down. Probably because I'm a dumbass. I believe Pedro was overthrown by his partner Lope.
Ooh, geez, toxic.
Yeah, one of them overthrew the other and then took over and like killed the other one. Like conquistador dead.
Well, I suppose you can't keep them alive because otherwise they're going to want to overthrow you.
Yeah, and so like their men were split, so they had men killing men. It was just very messy. In the end, the expedition was another failed one because nothing was discovered. 7th expedition here. We have Walter Rain, is how I believe you say his last name. Walter.
A European?
Yes.
All right.
Walter began his expedition in 1595, so we're almost out of the 16th
long time.
century.
Okay.
Another big time jump.
That was like 30 years. 1960 something.
35 years.
Yeah.
A 35-year time jump. The reasoning for his expedition was because the stories of a man named Juan Martinez. This was a man that I believe, from my understanding, was he had a mission with a different conquistador. This Martinez man came back to Europe and then he had some stories to tell, which then promoted Walt to want to go on his own expedition. Martinez told the following story on his deathbed. He had been part of an expedition team in 1570. He had fallen into the hands of the tribe in this region. He claims that he had been taken to the Golden City by this tribe. He said he was blindfolded and brought into this city, so he wasn't able to see any of his surroundings.
How he got there?
Yeah. He said he came into this city, he got to experience it, and this is where it differs. There's one story where it says that this Martinez man was given the option to stay here by the ruler of this tribe. Was going, you are welcome to stay, you can live here the rest of your life. And then he chose to leave. But then there's another version of the story where apparently Martinez said that he left the city on his own free will, and then he couldn't find his way back because he wanted to bring people back with him.
Okay.
So there's 2 ends to that story. No one knows what is true.
It must be hidden pretty damn well.
Yeah. So there, like I said, 2 ends to the story. No one can really say for sure the true ending of the story he told on his deathbed.
All right.
It kind of depends on the person you talk to. So that was the story. He claims that he's been there, and then Walter was like, I need to find this city. There's proof this man has been there. This drove him to find this golden city. He spent years exploring and mapping the entire area. He went over and, like, it sounds like obsessive compulsive. Like, he mapped every single thing he could map in South America. While he was there, he was working to build his presence in the area and try to build and form friendships with these people because he was like, they're going to lead me there.
Yeah, the more friendships you make, it makes life a little easier.
Yeah. He never found the lost city of El Dorado, but the little bits of gold that he did find in riverbanks and some of the little cities and villages he came across kind of fueled him, like, it's still out there.
There is gold here.
Yes, like, it's here, we're just not looking in the right spot. This gave him hope that it would eventually be found someday, even if it wasn't by him. When Walter returned to England, he was executed by King James for disobeying orders to avoid conflict with the Spanish people. However, when I read about his
I
story,
say, did he really create conflict?
that's the thing. It sounds like he tried to create friendships to like find this lost city. So I was very confused by that because it was vastly different than what I had assumed because it really made it sound like he made friends to hopefully fuel this
Connection.
finding and build those connections, and then he went
King
back.
James might have just been jelly.
I could see it. Kings are kind of arrogant assholes. And then the last little part we're going to talk about with before we get into theories are just some of the other expeditions. Many additional expeditions took place ranging through the rest of the 1500s and all through the 16th and 1700s, covering land throughout all of South America and like the northern part of Mexico. There's kind of a chunk in Mexico that they just skipped over, which I'm like, okay. I was going to give a complete list of all these places, but we're not going to sit here and listen to me try to say 20 different names.
Okay.
I'm going to try to post that map that I gave you. That is like the highlighted regions that were searched heavily.
What's the black dot?
That is where the sacred lake is.
Okay.
That's a very good question. Oh my goodness. I'm so proud of you.
What did I ask what a black dot is?
Yeah, because I totally forgot the black dot was on there. So I'm proud of you for asking that question.
Well, I didn't know if it was like, that's where the treasure is.
After all these expeditions that were failed, nothing was ever found. It leads me to think, okay, is the city of El Dorado or the Golden City real? Is it out there? Has it just not been found? So we're going to jump into some of the theories. And there are 3 very popular theories. I would say all of them are popular because when I went online and on TikTok and YouTube, all 3 of them have quite convincing evidence. And so we're going to jump into theory number 1. The lost city of El Dorado wasn't a city at all. Instead, it was just a man. Many of the legends and the myths that have been passed down depict a story of a chief that is named El Hombre Dorado. This leaves many of us kind of confused because we've been told it's the lost city. So I think everyone's assuming it's a city. But then when we find out the Musica people, their chief was named El Hombre
Dorado?
Dorado. Thank you. So we're kind of going, okay, is it not a city and it's just a man? This is theory number 1. It's very heavily
Can he
looked
like
at.
make you see things?
No, we're gonna get into the reason as to why
Okay.
he's called this. Because when I first saw this, I'm like, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. Is it possible that throughout time, this legend of the lost city of gold has been misconstrued? Is kind of the main question here. Was it only a man all along, and there's not truly a city of gold? Upon doing some more research exactly on this man, here's what I found. This supposed chief of the Musica tribe, El Hombre Dorado. I just like saying his name. And I don't even say it very nice. Apparently, during these religious festivities at this sacred lake, and the sacred lake, where's the name of it? I'm probably not going to say it right. Lake Guatavita.
Sounded good.
I think I actually said that right because that's what it sounded like on TikTok. So when they would have these religious ceremonies or festivities at Lake Guatavita, they would cover El Dorado. I'm just going to call him that because putting hombre in there screws up Dorado. They would cover him completely from head to toe in gold dust. They would grind up gold. They would like wet his skin and cover him completely in this gold dust.
All right.
They would then take him to the center.
Would he be naked?
I don't know. The pictures always had a loincloth.
Okay.
I'm going to pray that there was a loincloth. He would get covered. He would then be taken out to the center of Lake Guatavito, sorry. And they would take other gold things.
Is that Sacred Lake?
Yes, the sacred
Okay.
lake. Yep. It's called both things. The technical name is Guavito because that's, if you go there, that's what it's called now. But this was their sacred lake for their religious festivities. He would go to the center of this lake. He would take other offerings to offer a goddess. So this was one thing in their tribe is they didn't honor a god, they honored a goddess. I'm assuming it's because he was a male and he honored a female, is my guess. He would go to the center of the lake. He would throw these gold items into the center of the lake, which led a lot of those conquistadors to go, oh my God, there's gold at the bottom. Let's drain it.
Yep.
He would offer those things. And then at the very end of all of his offerings, he himself would dive completely into this lake. And I don't know why that is.
So what, was he floating on top of the water to get out there?
No, he would be taken out on like a raft, a boat.
Oh, okay.
He'd be taken out with something
Okay.
because he had offerings to give to.
Okay. I thought
So-
he swam out there with these offerings and
No.
then let him sink.
No,
Okay.
he would go out on like a boat of some kind. Like I said on the map, it's the black dot, and I'll post that picture so everyone can see it. The lake is located in Colombia. It's kind of like at the top, and it, like I said, it's in the Andes Mountains. So it's in a mountain range, and it's known as a crater lake because it's sunken into the mountains. It's kind of like a cereal bowl. When you look at it, it literally looks like a cereal bowl. It's kind of cool.
Cute.
Supposedly, Chief El Dorado would do all the offerings, he'd fully submerge himself, and apparently by doing this, it would then be like the start of their celebration, and then all their religious festivities would start. It kind of gave vibes of like Christmas can begin kind of thing.
Yay! How often would they do this?
That is one thing I couldn't find because I'm like, is this a
'Cause I'm like, if
yearly
they do this
thing?
yearly, there's not gonna be that many gold pieces. But if they do this like
Monthly?
monthly,
Yeah,
it's gonna start to pile up.
it wasn't really said because I was interested in that too.
Has anybody in today's day and age gone to the bottom of this lake?
I could not find that. That was the one thing I'm
Because
like,
if this is the thing, I'd grab some damn scuba gear and go to the bottom of the lake and see if there's stuff down there.
the only issue is if you go down there and mind you, there's been gold found by conquistadors, so like we know that there's been gold there. We go to the bottom of this lake and we find golden artifacts, great, but that's still not the city. Like,
Oh, correct.
that's the hard part is like we want to find the city. So like I don't know. I would hope someone grabs scuba
well, it's
gear.
kind of like what was the Boston Tea Party? Is that it? Where the stuff got whipped off the boat, and then somebody went and swam to the bottom of that and found all the stuff from the Boston Tea Party.
The story sounds familiar, but I don't think it was Boston Tea Party.
It's where this ship, and then people like I don't think they sunk the ship, but they took all the crates of stuff and threw it into the water.
Well, they did. I think they did that.
I'm pretty positive it's Boston Tea Party.
Maybe I
in
should
the
know.
Boston Harbor.
I've taught this.
I don't know. I don't do history.
I'm not a history person either. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's actually been to the bottom. I would assume people probably have been, and there's been gold found there. So like it leads us to believe that they're getting it somewhere. The only issue with this first theory is there's no record of it ever actually happening.
Well, in that day and age, there wasn't a lot of record of anything.
Well, I know, but like hieroglyphics were still a thing. So like
Maybe not for this tribe.
maybe not, and that very well could be a
there
thing.
are certain tribes that did hieroglyphics. I feel
Yeah.
like Indian people did a lot of hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mexican tribes did that. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I would assume there's some form of written language for each of them, but who knows?
You never know. But that's the only issue with theory number 1 is that there's zero documentation.
Okay, it's really just a story.
Yeah, other than like the tribe maybe saying like we've done this. Like that's the only issue. So the second theory we have to explore is that the lost city of El Dorado is still undiscovered, sitting somewhere within the Amazon rainforest. Can you not blink your eye like a fucking creep?
I was trying to be some chick on TikTok tonight did it where like she's like, if somebody's staring at me creepily, I do the doll blink, and like her one eye stays perfectly open, and then she like
You have issues.
blinks her other eye perfect. It was so creepy. Okay, well I didn't catch any of theory 2. I was too busy trying to blink.
You have an issue. So I'll restate again.
Thank you.
The second theory we have to explore tonight is that the city of El Dorado is still sitting undiscovered somewhere within the Amazon rainforest.
I feel like we've discovered a lot of the Amazon rainforest.
You don't realize, Sammy, that the Amazon rainforest covers 2.3 million square miles. We are still discovering
God
stuff today.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, because here I was sitting, I thought the same thing. I was like, the fuck? I'm like, we've totally discovered
Where
all
is the
this.
Amazon rainforest? Is it in Brazil?
It takes up all of Brazil and like goes into other countries too, like the skirts of other countries.
All right.
It's massive. It's kind of in
Is
the
it
heart.
protected?
Certain parts, yes. I believe it depends on the country that the rainforest is sitting in.
Okay.
Because I know that like deforestation has
I
been
know,
happening.
that'd be a shame.
But I believe a large chunk of it is protected land. Okay, so this is like the most widely believed theory. And the one thing with the Amazon rainforest is like it's a quite terrifying place. Would you fucking stop? I can't present to someone that's blinking their eyelash into their mic. So this is the most widely believed theory. The Amazon rainforest, to me and to many people, is a very scary place.
Yeah. Have you seen the
Because-
things that live in the Amazon rainforest? Scary.
The things that live there, the tribes that live in it, the
If
fact.
you're a tribe living in the Amazon rainforest, they gotta be the strongest people on earth.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm like,
Because the animals in there can kill you.
and I'm gonna jump into it here. It's actually my next point. I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. He's a big conspiracy theory guy, and I can't remember the name of this guy, and I forgot to look him up before we sat down. He has this guest on a lot, and this man has spent years of his life in the Amazon rainforest. He goes with other expedition teams. He has met and lived with tribes down there, and he talks about how terrifying the Amazon rainforest is. He goes, the people that live within it are literally built different. He goes, when you go in at night, like you can't see stars because the treetops. And he goes, it is a whole different type of dark. He goes, but when you go into into the forest, these people can see in the dark. It's like their eyes have night vision built in. He goes, it's
It's called
terrifying.
natural selection.
They've
They've adapted.
They've adapted, but he goes, it is terrifying to go in there. The one thing he always says every time he's on the podcast, and it always sticks with me because it scares the shit out of me. He goes, if you go into the rainforest and you're not with someone that knows what the hell they're doing, he goes, you can take 10 steps in and never find your way back out.
Oh God, no.
He goes, like, the rainforest will literally swallow you whole. He goes, you go in and, like, you think you're walking a straight line. He goes, and you're kind of jick-jacking, and you turn to take the 10 steps out, and you can't find where you came in. He goes, it is truly terrifying. And it gives me goosebumps. He's very interesting to talk to or not talk to, because I don't talk to him.
But like listen to him talk.
He's very interesting to listen to because he has spent years down there and he's met with a lot of these tribes and he's had experiences. And I'm like, I don't even want to visit the rainforest because of how terrifying he's made it sound.
I'd only visit it during the day with a guide.
With someone that knows this area. I don't even know why I'm bringing him up. Oh, because he talks about how, like, so much of the Amazon hasn't been discovered yet. I mean, we're still going in and looking for things now. Just at the end of 2023 into January 2024, we literally just discovered a new ancient civilization. They found these cities and I want to
like
make
a new wonder of the world kind of thing? Or is it not that big?
I don't think it's big enough for that. It's kind of like when you look at like the Aztec or the Inca ruins. I think they found more like ancient cities like that.
Okay.
They found them using satellites and LiDAR scanning, which is laser scanning from the sky. They found...
Well, I suppose they got to kind of start to discover things certain ways because you can't do it on foot.
You can't. And like the animals that are down there, you're risking death, you're risking disease, you're risking just getting lost and losing your life out there. So they found it with LiDAR scanning. They found a mass network of roads that connected these ancient cities. So like we're still finding stuff. Theory number 2 is probably the most realistic of like, we just haven't found the lost city of gold yet.
So it might still be out there. And mind you, it could be hidden in like a cave.
It could be hidden in a cave. It could be covered by the canopies of trees. Like, it's just covered so we're not seeing it from the sky. Because if it wasn't covered, you would see it. It's going to shine. It's gold.
It's going to twinkle like a diamond.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that if it's in the Amazon, it's either in a cave or it's just heavily covered and we're not finding it. The third and final theory is my favorite one. I'm not entirely sure if it's the most believable theory, but it's the one that is most fun to believe in. Theory number 3 is that the lost city of El Dorado is located at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Any response? I'll get into it.
I feel like everybody's been to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, though.
So...
not everybody, but there's been people that have been to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I mean, it would definitely blend.
It is in a part of the Grand Canyon that the government has closed off to the public.
The fuck?
In the late 19th...
I guess I didn't know there was a part that was blocked off.
I didn't know that until I did this research. In the late 19th century and the 20th century, there was a gold rush that occurred in the Colorado River. For those of you that don't know, that runs through the Grand Canyon. Everyone was flocking to the Grand Canyon because they're like, I need to have my piece of this gold. When all these people started flocking, it ended up crashing the gold market because so much gold was being mined
that it ended up being basically not valuable at all.
It ended up being worthless. Due to the immense amount of gold that was being brought out and mined, the government ended up shutting this part of the Grand Canyon down. Still to this day, you cannot go in there. It is now considered a private sanctuary where humans cannot go. From what I've been able to see on pictures, you can kind of go like to a lookout point and look down, but the gold isn't just sitting out for you to see, like it's in cave systems. So like you can go there and you can look, but you can't go down in there and actually see where people have mined this gold.
Is it blocked off?
Yes. You physically cannot get there. I believe if you go down into the bottom, like there are walls that have been built. You cannot go here anymore.
Okay.
And if you get caught...
Because I'm like, there are people that go down into the Grand Canyon and like you can move about down there and like it's not like there's guards or anything. So I mean, if it's not physically barricaded and like you can't walk around the barricade, because I could see somebody doing that.
Oh, 100%.
Especially if you don't know that's a thing.
From what I've been able to find, there's one signs posted like, get the fuck out of here, you can't be here. There are huge barricades and areas that have been built so like you can't get in there. And I also believe it's not easy to get in there. You would like have to rappel in, I would believe, to get to this spot because they've kind of taken it to the point where you just can't get in. So like I said, it's a private sanctuary now. You get caught going in there, it's like prison time. Like you cannot go here.
My thing is, okay, if it's there,
Mhm.
wouldn't our government want to cash in on it? We're selfish.
Oh, 100% we're selfish. And I kind of get into a little bit of that because I'm still confused as to why we wouldn't want to be like, we have it. We have the lost city of El Dorado.
Because even if it's difficult to get, I mean, we're harvesting oil out of the middle of the ocean. So obviously we're fine with doing things that are difficult.
Yeah, like we can do it. I'm there's kind of a reason as to why we might not talk about it, but I don't think it's a solid reason.
Okay.
So There was a man named Seth Tanner, and he comes into the picture. If you Google him, you'll find out he was this huge explorer. He did travel down to this part of the Grand Canyon. He went,
When?
I don't have a year. It was like 19th century. Like it was a while
Okay,
ago.
it was a lot later.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 19th, 20th century. So it wasn't like 10 years ago.
Okay.
I believe he went like right after it was made private or right before it was made a private sanctuary. I'm not sure. It didn't really say. He traveled down to this part of the Grand Canyon. He went deep into the cave system here and has gone on record talking about what he saw when he was down there. Like there's record documentation of him saying this. He observed ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics pointing to signs that this underground cave system was the lost city of gold. A lot of the hieroglyphics, it sounds like, could have been interpreted by languages that were already kind of discovered.
Okay.
And a lot of it kind of pointed to, like, you are here, you have found it, you're home. The natives in the southern part of the United States told tales of the Golden City. So, like, these stories came from South America all the way up into North America. And it sounds like maybe it was the opposite. And we have the city, and these stories traveled south, and those tribes were talking about it.
Okay.
They had
thinking it was down there.
Yes. They had their own gold. So when these Spanish conquistadors came over, or these European conquistadors came over, these tribes would be like, yes, we have gold and there's a golden city, and not really realizing that maybe it's a little further north and it's up here. Anyways, back to Seth Tanner. He found these ancient Egyptian things that said, like, you are here.
Did he ever come out saying that he saw stuff?
He said,
besides the hieroglyphics, did
he
he
saw the
see
hieroglyphics.
Golden City?
He said that when he walked in, everything was gold. It didn't sound like it looked like houses of gold. It just sounded like it was caves of gold everywhere you look. It doesn't, when you look at pictures.
So instead of having like crystals being made,
Yes.
it was like chunks of gold.
Just as far as you could see.
Okay.
And it sounds like he went pretty deep into this cave system, and like he goes, you just kept going, and there was more and more gold. It was never ending. He came out.
That's why it would go down the river.
Yes. And like parts of it would fall, and cave systems have water in it. It's going to travel and come out into the river there. Makes complete sense. When you look at pictures of what people depict the Golden City to be, I think everyone thinks of like gold pyramids.
Yeah.
And I don't think
that's what it is.
I think that's where we're wrong, is like it was never actually a city, but these people found this and were like, this is our city. Like, oh my goodness, we found it. But I don't think it was ever actually a city at all. I think it might have been a cave system that never ended, and it's just a shit ton of gold. But it leads us to question as to why would our government hide this away? Wouldn't you want to say we found the lost city of El Dorado? We found the Golden City? A lot of people kind of suspect that the government fears that if they were to open it to the public, one, there would be looting and stealing and people would try to take. But it also opens up the fact that, okay, if there's this one, how many more are in the bottom of the Grand Canyon we haven't found?
Well, yeah, and then they're going to want to ruin the Grand Canyon.
And they're going to want to cash in on this and destroy this national monument. I mean, it's one of the 7 wonders of America.
Yeah.
Not of the world, but of America. So it kind of leads us to think that the government's like, we're doing this for safety.
To protect it.
Because we don't want it ruined, and we also don't want people going even deeper and finding more than trying to become rich off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I
could see that.
I could too, and I could see why they'd make it protected, but I'm also kind of like, I want to know, is it there? Like, is it truly in the bottom of the Grand Canyon?
These like blocked off areas.
I couldn't find pictures, but I also didn't look hard for it. I just know it's a sanctuated area that you can't go down in there anymore. It's completely blocked off to the public.
Okay.
So it's not like, oh, I'm hiking a trail and I'm going down. I don't even think any trails lead you to this area.
I highly doubt it.
Like, they've
and if
diverted
there was
them.
Trails, they have made sure to shut them down.
Yeah, I think they've kind of diverted or have been like, this is a dead end now. Like, you can't go any further.
Yeah.
Another reason people kind of assume that, like, the U.S. or the government wouldn't want this open is that if people were able to get down there and they found more cave systems and they weren't able to go, well, it's protected land, the people would start bringing it out, and then essentially it would make the gold market go bankrupt, because they'd be like, well, it wasn't protected, so I can take it, I can make all this money, and essentially gold would be worth nothing.
Yeah,
it'd be inexpensive. I mean, and you look at these jewelry markets, wedding bands, necklace, like, it would just make it
would be obsolete.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the biggest conspiracies as to why the government wouldn't say anything. So what do you believe? Is the lost city of gold not really a city at all? Is it just a man that once lived? Is El Dorado still awaiting discovery, sitting somewhere beneath the canopies of the rainforest? Or is the Golden City right here in the good old USA, sitting at the bottom of the Grand Canyon?
I could see theory 2 or 33. I don't know how much I believe of theory one. One, because there's no evidence of it.
Yeah.
And, like, at this point, like, I feel like if those stories were set, why haven't we gone with scuba gear to the bottom of that lake?
That's my thing. And
You know, like, if we really think that warrants an actual theory or, like,
Yeah.
that that's actually a thing, I feel like somebody would have gone to the bottom of that lake by now.
I would have assumed, and someone might have, and I didn't really look into that part.
Yeah.
But I also feel like these stories have been passed down for how many years now? I just find it hard to believe that it's just a single man. Like,
Yeah.
I think that there is a gold city somewhere, whether it is gold pyramids or whether it's a golden cave.
Or hidden at the bottom of
Yeah.
the rainforest.
Yeah.
Like, I could see that being covered.
100%. Because I mean,
Especially with how much of that is not discovered.
and we're still finding cities in 2024, the year we're currently in.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like it really could be hidden in the rainforest, but I'd really like to believe that it's at the bottom of the Grand
I
Canyon.
could also see that as well.
And when I went into the whole Grand Canyon part of it, I found it very interesting that people go, I think the stories were always backwards, and like these
The
tales were
stories
told,
traveled down.
and they traveled down instead of traveling up. So
Yeah, I could totally see that.
it's very interesting. I really enjoyed researching this one,
It was a good one.
especially because it's not one that I have
I'd never heard
ever
of it.
heard of it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it.
Very interesting. So you guys tell us what you believe, because these theories are quite convincing, and I think it's still out there. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at Conspiracy Podcast 1. And remember to tune in for next week's episode, which will be posted on Wednesday. Bye, guys.
See ya.